Hi everybody, this video is on the full moon in Libra that happens on the 19th of April 2019 at 12 minutes past 12 in the afternoon, and that's based on UK time. This is the second full moon in Libra that we've got this year, and it's interesting because it happens in a week where there's a lot of conflict going on, and it really represents a chance for you to have a do-over in certain relationships. So last month we had a full moon in Libra. This month we have another one. It's at 29 degrees. Whenever something in the chart is at 1 degree or at 29 degrees, it's on the cusp, because each house has 30 degrees. So some astrologers say, oh, you know, when something is at 29 degrees, it starts to take on the qualities of that next sign, and it's blended. So, like for instance, if something is at 29 degrees in Libra, it will start to take on Scorpio energy, and it will be like a Scorpio-Libra hybrid. I don't believe that. I believe that when something is at 1 degree or 29 degrees, it's even more powerfully that sign, and it clings on for dear life. So this full moon in Libra is Super Libra, which is all about being compromising, building bridges with people, overcoming the differences and the obstacles that keep people separate from each other, that keep people apart, the different ways of thinking, the different cultural backgrounds, the socio-economic differences, the class system, all of that social stuff which is designed to keep people separate is melted away, or can be melted away, by Libra, and it can be used to build a network between yourself and other people where you're really surrounded by people who have your back, and where you have a real support system, and where you're really able to have wonderful partnerships that work. So a full moon, first of all, is when the sun and the moon are 180 degrees apart from each other. The moon illuminates the moon. The moon is fully lit up. It reflects the light of the sun, and it reaches its monthly completion point. So it's been building up to this, building up to this, building up to this. When it reaches this full moon stage, it lets go of the energy and it showers us with its energy. So here on the 19th of April, we're going to feel this Libra energy descend, but not just Libra energy, Libra plus, okay? Really, really charming, really elegant, really forgiving, and really solution oriented, and seeing how you can connect with others. Also, if you add up 2 and 9, you get 11, and 11 in numerology is the master number of service. So this is an opportunity to serve other people, not yourself, and to create relationships that are like family. The sun is at 29 degrees in Aries, so we're in this time of year, we're in spring in the northern hemisphere. The sun is in Aries, and it's about, let's get things started, let's get things moving. Focused on the self, focused on I build, I create, I overcome obstacles. This moon is a total contradiction to that, because Libra is 180 degrees away from Aries, and instead of saying I build, I create, it says I compromise and I build with other people, and we do things as a team. So within this time of being focused on the self, there's a full moon here that gives you the opportunity to build bridges and to have a do-over in your relationships, especially relationships that have been frayed in the last month or so because of differing interests and people being focused on different things. Uranus sits right next to the sun at 2 degrees, 1 and 2 is a relationship, in Taurus. So there has been chaos that's been created in friendships, in family relationships, in romantic relationships, because of unusual behavior that's arisen from people taking action that they really felt was necessary. And other people have reacted by saying, what the hell? What is going on? This puts a total wedge in between us. Why would this person do that? And this full moon is an opportunity to explain why that was done. It's an opportunity to understand why that person felt driven to make that move. You know, so if you're really good friends with someone and you're working in an office together and you're going for the next job up, and I mean, it's a classic case of betrayal, and your friend at the office is helping you prepare your CV for that next job up, and they don't want it at all because they don't want the extra responsibility. And then it turns out that they have sneakily, you know, sabotaged your CV by making it look rubbishy, and they've built their own CV, applied for the same position, and they steal it from you, and they get it, and you feel stabbed in the back. Then they've had reasons to do that, and it may not be about you, and you may not want to forgive that person, or you may see and understand why they felt they had to do that. You may sympathize with them, you may not. So this is an opportunity to look at your relationships and to find balance in them, and whether that balance means that it's over, or whether the balance means that there's a new kind of depth and a new kind of added history and experience to your friendship or your partnership or your romantic relationship, then it means that it's just much deeper and it just has much more complexity to it, and that the two of you know each other much better because you've been through more together. The moon forms several relationships with other planets. First of all, there's a semi-square, so it's 45 degrees away from Ceres at 13 degrees in Sagittarius. Ceres is Mother Earth. It's the cornucopia of wealth and abundance and prosperity. So by working with other people and by being of service, you're really going to serve yourself, because something positive is going to come out of that. You will receive abundance, and you will receive all the things that you want, really. So if you can find a way forward, if you can find a way to build bridges rather than burn them on this day, you're going to benefit, because those other people will then add something back. So being of service, you're giving value to people, right? So you're doing something for people which really helps them. And if you're doing that on this day with the semi-square with Ceres, it means that because you've added value, you will get that value back threefold or fourfold. You'll be showered with an abundance of wealth and prosperity. Now the moon also forms a square with Saturn, the south node, and Pluto in Capricorn, and that square says, I don't want to build bridges, I want to change my circumstances in my actual physical life, and I want to do that by myself. Pluto and Saturn and the North Node, they form a square with the midheaven in Aries, which is about, I work by myself, and it forms a T-square with Pallas Athena, and it's like half a square. It's a square with a line through it, making it a triangle. That's, what is this? Is that a equilateral triangle? I don't know. It's 90 degrees between the squares, and then it's got a straight line which creates this triangle. If you put two triangles like this together, you get a square. So that is called a T-square, and it's an area of real friction. Pallas Athena is the goddess of love and and drive and power and using your kind of feminine energy, which is loving and which is about understanding the other person, but fighting for what you feel is right. And it's at 17 degrees, which is 8, which is power, and it's in Libra. So you have this strong desire to be the people's champion in a way. Saturn and Pluto say, no, what we want you to do is work on the practical, and we want you to do that by yourself. So there's real friction here between work for yourself, by yourself, to just secure your own needs. And we've got the Moon and Pallas Athena and Ceres saying, if you're of service to people instead, and rather than being selfish and just focusing on your own needs, you'll do much better. Because one, you're going to build a bridge with another person. You're going to be of service to that other person, so you'll give something to them, which feels good. Giving something valuable to another person makes you feel good. It's like giving a present. Seeing the look on that other person's face when they receive the present is a joy. But what also happens if you're giving and if you're of service on this day rather than selfish and you hold things in, you activate Ceres and you're going to be showered with prosperity as a result of your generosity. So you have a choice here. You can either go your own way and build independently and just be your own little island, or you can be someone who networks and who compromises and who builds and who's generous. And by being generous, you will do much better. You will thrive and you will succeed. Now, there's a trine between Black Moon Lilith and the Moon. And Black Moon Lilith is at 28 degrees in Aquarius. So Black Moon Lilith is the part of the chart where the ego tries to sabotage you. And it says, don't be of service to anyone, okay? It's not your job. Why is it always you that has to help everyone? Why don't you ever get help? You know that resentment? It's like, why am I always the one fixing everyone's problems? Why am I always picking up the pieces? When has anyone ever come into my life and picked up my pieces and fixed things for me? Never. We can all go down that road. And the ego knows that, and the ego knows how to manipulate us. And that thought is going to sway you towards the Saturn and Pluto and Aries side, saying, screw everyone else, I'm doing it my way. And the ego wants you to fail. And it puts messages in your head that when you listen to them, they sound very urgent and they sound very right. When you listen to those messages, you make things even more difficult for yourself. So you have this ego message that's really strong today, and it says, you know what, you have been of service so many times that not again. You're being a doormat by being of service to other people. Don't do it. And what I'm saying is that you ought to ignore that voice, and you need to be giving. You don't need to do anything. But if you are giving, and if you're generous, and if you're of service, and you just turn the volume down on that voice and say, do you know what? I have plenty. I am loved and supported by the universe. I'm no one's fool. I have more than enough to give. I'm going to share and I'm going to be loving. Despite the circumstances, I'm going to give. And I'm going to be the person that I want to be, that I've always dreamt of being. I don't want to be a bitter Betty. I want to be a lovely, sharing, caring, generous person who overlooks what's happened in the past. I don't want to be petty. I don't want to get involved in all this bickering and backbiting. I just want to be compromising and generous. And that's not so easy. You know, life after a while tends to get us, and a lot of people go down the bitter Betty road, because it's like, how many times are you going to be screwed over before you learn? And this full moon really challenges you, and it's asking you to again be open-hearted, be generous, because that's where success lies. That's where your dreams come true. Now, there is a quincux between the full moon and Venus at 28 degrees in Pisces. So the way Black Moon Lilith is fighting for the losing team, the selfish team, Venus in Pisces is fighting for the team of generosity and kindness. Venus is the planet of love and beauty and creativity. And she's in Pisces, which is super self-sacrificing. It's at 28 degrees, which is 1. And it says, take the initiative to be loving, to be of service, to give. So Venus is helping you turn the volume down on the ego. So listen to your heart. What does your heart say? Should you give, or should you reject and say, not this time? If you're able to give, you will end up as the winner. There's a Sesky square, 130 degrees, 35 degrees, with Mars at 12 degrees in Gemini. 12, 1 and 2 is 3, that's about communication and new beginnings. Gemini is the communication sign, it's a doorway, and it's about finding new ways of connecting and exploring new ways of doing things. And it's Mars, so it's the male principle of I want. Now Mars rules Aries, the sign of I want to do things by myself, but it's not in Aries, it's in Gemini. And literally Gemini, the twins are two people, it's a relationship. So Mars is saying communicate with other people, be in relationship to other people, compromise, and coming from Mars, that's pretty amazing. So you've got both Mars and Venus fighting for the right to be a people person and to be a humanitarian, because that's ultimately what's going to make you win. This is a really interesting full moon, because a lot of people are going to be generous, and if we did this every day of our lives, if people behaved this way every day, the world would look very differently. Because a lot of the stuff that goes on in the world is because people are selfish and mean, and they don't care about what happens to others. And on this day, you're being rewarded for being kind and for being generous and loving. And because if you choose that way of being, you get much more back. So if you're someone who's always gone your own way, and you've been someone who says, no one's ever done anything for me, why should I do anything for anyone else? Try today. Try and do that for the first time. Try and put yourself last and do something for other people and see how much you get back. And prove to yourself that that way of behaving is far more effective than trying to claw and grab and sneak and steal for yourself. It always comes back to bite you anyway. So that's all the relationships the moon forms. In terms of the chart in general, there's a grand cross in it. And a grand cross is taking lots of different energy and combining it to create great friction. So you'll feel very, very energized and very conflicted, and you'll feel like, okay, I need to do things by myself, but I want to take care of people as well. I want to be kind and considerate, but I also have my own needs and circumstances to consider. If I just give everything away, then who's going to pay my rent? How am I going to move forward in life? So that whole conflict is resolved by saying, I'm going to pick the side of being giving and loving and charitable. And that releases all of that conflicting energy of, should I look out for myself, or do I act in a way that's generous and selfless and focused on others? So the easiest way to do this is to simply try it out and test it and say, okay, I know that I am feeling a lot of conflict and a lot of different emotions today. I have behaved this way for my whole life. I've always been generous and kind and giving, and nothing has ever come back to me. Or I've always looked out for myself, and that's worked fabulously for me, and I'm wealthy and I'm successful. Today, try, because it's the second Libra full moon this year, okay? There's a reason for that. The universe is saying, try again. Try and build bridges again. There's a point to this. It's not for nothing. It's not giving us 2 Libra full moons just so that we don't make connections and relationships with other people. It's giving us 2 Libra full moons. So it doesn't matter how you behaved in the past. I would urge you to try and be as generous and self-sacrificing and compromising and generous as you can possibly be today, and watch the miraculous results and the wonderful things that you receive in return. And just have that serve as evidence and proof that that way of behaving works. And it works much better than just making yourself number one all the time, which is a horrible way to live, and it's very isolating. That's it. So that's what I get for you during this full moon. It's really an opportunity to try and modify your behavior and then watch and see what happens in a real practical sense. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I hope you have a wonderful time during this full moon in Libra. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. And in my personal readings, I draw up a chart like the one you're seeing next to me. And I draw up your birth chart by using your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth, the way I've drawn up this chart by using the 19th of April 2019 at 12 minutes past 12 in London in the UK. So I use your details, I get the same chart, I can read it the same way I read this chart, and I can look at what your life purpose is, what your vocational aptitudes are, what your strengths and weaknesses are, where the ego tries to sabotage you, what you need to heal to really thrive, where you're naturally lucky and supported by the universe and naturally abundant, what's destined for you in romance and children and work and health, travel, your connection with institutions, career, finance, family, communication, self-development, spiritual development, achieving your life mission, your life purpose. And I can answer any questions you may have. So if you're interested in that, then please get in touch via my website, gregoryscott.com, and order your reading there. Have a look at some of my other videos. I do daily tarot readings for all signs of the zodiac, weekly horoscopes for all signs of the zodiac, monthly horoscopes for each specific sign of the zodiac, and yearly horoscopes for each specific sign of the zodiac as well. So have a look at some of those for some extra info. Also, your monthly horoscopes for April are going to tell you in what house this full moon in Libra is going to fall into. And the house in astrology is the area of your life where the energy is expressed. So let's say we have a full moon in Libra at 29 degrees in your 4th house of family. If you're generous to your family and you're selfless and you support them, then you're really going to receive wonderful things back from your family members. Okay. So if you are interested in a reading with me, then please get in touch via the website, gregoryscott.com. Have a wonderful time during this full moon, and I'll speak to you soon.